your mind.
Make Mississippi great.
Welcome to the JT Show.
Here we go.
On Super Talk, Mississippi. And now, here's your host, JT.
Well, there it is, the afternoon. Nothing like the afternoon of the Neshoba County Fair, especially when there's no wind blowing. That makes it even better. That makes it even more interesting. The state auditor is here with us, Stacey Pickering, who spoke earlier today. What do we got at the Pickering cabin today? I'm trying to make some lunch decisions here.
You know, I just saw you working on that bowl over there. Don't. I saw
was
manner pudding and fried chicken.
No, it wasn't. It was a chicken strip and some potato salad.
All right, I just saw
that was just
that
was an appetizer.
When you walked around the corner, it didn't stay in the bowl long enough.
Because it's lunchtime. You're at the fair. I bet you I could go somewhere and find some peas and sliced tomatoes somewhere.
All I got to say is I know where some really good fried chicken is.
How you been, man?
Man, I am doing great. The family's good. Children are healthy. Mama's happy. Life is good.
You went early this morning. You had a lot to talk about.
We did. We had a lot to talk about. It's a little cooler, but also, I've always traditionally, over 10 years, got to speak on Wednesday mornings here at the fair, so it's kind of a tradition. I get to see everybody and then sit back and listen to what everybody else has to say for the day. It's one of the great Mississippi traditions here at the Neshoba County Fair.
A lot of things that you have talked about, and obviously you talked about your record and what you've been able to do. And that was part of your speech today?
It was. It's always a kind of a State of the Union address. It's a chance to get in front of your constituents and folks that we work for and serve, and we work for across Mississippi, and say, in the last 12 months, this is what we've accomplished. This is what we've done. We've talked about our exception report. We always release at the fair here on Super Talk every year, and we talk about what's in there. It's on our website, osa.ms.gov. And
now tell people what that is, for they may not know. It's basically the scorecard.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
It's the scorecard. If you want to know who got a demand issued against them, who got indicted, who's paid money back, whether it's city, county, state, school districts across the state of Mississippi, who has lost property that was assigned to them, it tells all of those details are here in one document. We publish it every year here at the last week of July, getting ready to go into the last week of July, and it's called the Exceptions Report. It's somebody that we've taken exception with how they've managed or spent our tax dollars. I'm looking right now, Gulfport individual misappropriation of fund, $50,000 down there at the Gulfport School District.
Wow.
And so you just flip through, you can take a look. Greg Davis in DeSoto County, even though he appealed it and the appellate court said he wasn't guilty of a criminal charge, he still misspent over $180,000 that he owes back to the taxpayers. We've collected over half of that, and now we'll be moving forward on collecting the rest of that now that the legal proceedings are over with.
And this is serious money that's in here.
Over $1.7 million in the last 12 months alone that we've issued demands for. We've collected about almost $1 million of it. We've actually recovered, and we're working hard on the rest of it.
The exceptions report, and this is obviously when people that defraud, whether intentionally or not, we don't want people to think that everybody in here is a criminal, because that's not necessarily the case, is it?
Some of it's just misspending where the law didn't allow them to spend it the way they did. They thought they were doing right, and they repay it. I have a supervisor just last week got reimbursed for $2,000 for a trip, and he did not do it legally and correctly, get it approved beforehand, and he has to pay back $2,000 to that county. It's not criminal. It just wasn't done legally, and therefore he can't spend taxpayer dollars doing it that way. So he wasn't trying to embezzle. Everything was above board. He just didn't do it legally the right way, and it was not a permissible trip. So not everybody's a criminal, but it purely states in here, an example is Bill Walker, formerly with DMR. He still owes the state $350,000 that he misappropriated, and it tells you exactly what his status is and where he is in that restitution.
And obviously, you've got some people in here that are. I mean, the Chris Epps deal is in there.
Chris Epps is in there. We've got everybody from bookkeepers and clerks across the state who have been indicted, have been arrested, or have pled guilty. Most individuals actually wind up pleading guilty. They never actually go to trial.
The exceptions report, it is online, and you can go to the state auditor's website. You can find it right there, and it's up there for you. And you can learn all about this and more. It's right there for you. It's something that he presents to the elected officials and the legislature, and it's taken by all done. It's kind of divided up by counties. It's there, and you can learn.
Everything's alphabetical order. It's right there for you. And again, it's on our website, osa.ms.gov. It's great transparency. Folks say all the time, well, you issued demand. How did that play out? Very simple. Here it is. Every every year we give it to you in black and white. And again, we recovered right at $1 million, and we have issued demand for $1.7 million this year. And that's really one of our lower years from quite some time. We've already started off into the next fiscal year. Green Tech went under up in Mississippi Delta, did not create the jobs, didn't do what they said they were going to do. And we've already issued demand for $6.4 million that they owe back to the taxpayers of Mississippi.
What was it that they were supposed to do?
They said they're going to create an energy efficient car. And we went to the press conference with the automotive industry that first day, and when they cranked that car up, it blew out more blue smoke than a pulpwood truck in Jones County. It is not a fuel efficient. We knew at that point there were going to be problems with this company, and at the end of the day, they agreed to create 300 jobs, paying over $70,000. When we finally showed up, they were down less than 20 jobs, most of it $10,000 to $20,000 part-time gigs. They did not do what they said they were going to do, and they owe the taxpayers $6.4 million.
What are you? By law, you obviously are able to go and collect that, but what do you do how does this work if they refuse that? Obviously, there's going to be some difficulty getting this money.
Always is in these cases, and that's one reason we list all these in the exception report, where we are in the restitution. On Green Tech, they've got 30 days. That clock is ticking. At the end of that 30 days, then we will issue a demand that they are default on the demand. Their default on that payment to the taxpayers of Mississippi. We'll turn it over to the Attorney General, who then they always turn around and then make that file in the civil process, and then the ball's rolling. It's not just on Green Tech, but we work with them, and we've probably got over a dozen cases right now that the AG staff is working on behalf of the taxpayers. And we also work with local DAs.
Sure. What about, and I'm probably throwing you a curveball way out of the blue here, obviously, the Public Service Commission has been going rounds with the Kemper County plant. Have you been involved in that at all yet?
We haven't been. The legislature set up a separate oversight committee in function through the Public Service Commission. They actually hired a separate CPA firm to oversee that process. So because you've had the regulatory of the PCS, they've had a separate accounting firm overlooking the spending and auditing it as it's being spent. We have not spent taxpayer dollars to go into that project yet because we've already got multiple layers of oversight. At the end of the day, if we think something criminal has happened, we will come in with our investigative division and we'll be taking a look at those numbers. But right now, we're allowing the regulatory agencies to do their job. So, Kemper is one of those things. It's a bad deal every which way it's been done.
It's its own little animal right now.
It is, but the Public Service Commission is the right place, the right source, the regulatory agency to be overseeing that project.
You are the president of the National State Auditors Association here for this year.
Got sworn in last month in New Jersey, of all places.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. We'll be hosting that annual convention here in Mississippi. We'll bring in over 100 of my counterparts and their staff, state auditors from California to Massachusetts, Texas, and all parts in between.
Going to hold that in Biloxi and show off our beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast.
We're going to show off the Gulf Coast. We're already talking to other vendors and folks. We're going to get into Mississippi, make sure they see what Mississippi has to offer. We're excited. Maybe a little side trip after the conference for some of my friends. Take them to show Natchez, some of the other parts of the state, so that they can see who we really are as Mississippians.
What's your schedule? You got to go? Or
look, you just hold me up between me and some fried chicken today.
Well, I don't want to do that, so we'll get to this. I got just a couple of more minutes. Medicaid data, you're working this in other states?
This is one of the biggest things. We announced this morning, JT, where we have entered into an agreement with Dr. Jellick and the Mississippi Department of Medicaid.
Right.
Full access to all their data from our analytic staff and personnel and our auditors. We're working with Massachusetts, California, Louisiana, North Carolina, and now Mississippi is the fifth state to dive off into data mining, looking for improper payments, double payments. We're also looking for dual residency, where folks are getting benefits in Louisiana and crossing the state line is also getting benefits in Mississippi. We're looking at not just the recipients, but what about the providers, dentists, doctors, other sources that are getting reimbursed for Medicaid dollars that are committing fraud. And so we're doing the data mining to help the Medicaid fraud unit at Medicaid. The Attorney General's office will be working with their staff as we get into the reports, as well as our investigators, and looking for improper payments, dual payments, as well as fraud of providers to make sure we're transparent and we're accountable of how we're spending our Medicaid dollars in Mississippi. And already where we've done this in other states, Democrat and Republican, We've already found hundreds of thousands of dollars of dual payments or improper payments and fraud in those other states. We're confident we'll find those same things here, and that's the reason Dr. Jellick in our Medicaid office has said, absolutely, if y'all got that capability, we want you in here. Come help us.
Please, let's clean it up, because that's where so much of our money goes.
It's
just amazing.
And so, at Auditor, our job is to be the foremost expert of accountability and facts in Mississippi. And that's what we're bringing to the fight. We're doing the data analytics, the crunching. We've hired some staff. We've done some realignment to put resources. And Medicaid will be the first state agency who've done that. The Inspector Generals for Education, Department of Justice have all asked us to look into their federal grant programs coming to Mississippi. That'll be second tier where we'll be going into later.
Go get you some fried chicken. Stacey Pickering, your state auditor, here with us at the Neshoba County Fair. The JT Show continues. Thank you.
Thanks, JT.
Thank you
Good
for
to be
being
with
here.
you.
You bet.
We appreciate
You bet.
it.
Stacey Pickering, your state auditor. Now, open